Have you ever wondered if you could be responsible for the medical bills of your elderly parent? Well, after researching this, I was so shocked to find out that yes, maybe you could be responsible. So in this video, I'm going to share with you who might be responsible to pay for their parents' medical bills and what you could do to protect yourself. Hi there, I'm Sophia and I'm bringing you new videos every Tuesday to help you be a more successful, more satisfied, and more informed family caregiver. Okay, so I have to start this video off with a disclaimer that I am not an attorney or a financial planner, so if you have any questions about the information I'm going to talk about in this video here, then please go ahead and contact an attorney or other professional for more information. Could you imagine receiving a bill in the mail for $20,000, $50,000, or $100,000 or more for the medical care of your parent and being told that you are financially responsible to pay it? For most of us, that would be totally just financially devastating. And if you are anything like me, you would be screaming, "What the hell? They can't do this." Well, maybe they can. I came across in my research something that I have to honestly say I'd never ever heard of before. And I thought, well, maybe some of you haven't heard of this before either. And I thought, I have got to share this information. There are these old laws that were originated hundreds of years ago in the 1600s called the Filial responsibility laws. And what these laws said was that it was the legal obligation and responsibility of the adult children to pay for the care and needs of their elderly parents. These laws were made way back when there was no insurance, no Medicare, no Medicaid, no Social Security, and the states had to ensure that the hospitals and nursing homes would be paid for the care that they provided. The absolute crazy thing is that today, in 2019, 29 states and Puerto Rico still have some form of a filial responsibility law on the books. So I'm going to list those 29 states right here. So briefly, if your parent received medical or nursing home care in a state that's not on this list that I gave, then there is no law that says you're obligated to pay and you're kind of off the hook. The exception might be if you signed a promise to pay note to a facility or if you have power of attorney for finances for your parent, you are obligated to pay their bills out of their money, but not out of your money. But if your parent receives nursing home care in a state that is on this list, meaning there is a current filial responsibility law on the books, then that's another story. Much of the verbiage in the law in each of the 29 states is the same. This includes that your parent must be considered indigent, meaning that their out-of-pocket cost for their care is more than their Social Security and other income, and that they don't qualify for Medicaid. And it states that if the facility has reason to believe that there is an adult child who has the ability to pay the bill, then they can sue that child for payment of that bill. It does state, though, that if your parent abandoned you as a child for some period of time, then you might not be obligated to pay. The good news in all of this is that today most of our parents have insurance to cover their hospital stays, and if they are in long-term care, then they should have Medicaid, or they should be in the process of spending down to qualify for Medicaid. The other good part is that the law does say that if you have other financial responsibilities and obligations and don't have the money to pay a nursing home back, then you're not obligated to pay. However, you are going to have to prove that. There are some variations in the details of the law from state to state, so I highly recommend that you do a Google search for a filial responsibility law specific to the state where your loved one received care. For instance, in Connecticut, that law only applies to parents who are under 65 years old. And in Arkansas, a child would only be required to pay for the mental health care for their parent. So again, do a search and be certain of the laws that are in your area. Now, it is true that today, 29 states and Puerto Rico do have the filial responsibility law on the books. However, only 4 of those have ever enforced this law in the last 20 years, and those are South Dakota, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, and Puerto Rico. And for the record, it does seem that Pennsylvania is the one most aggressively enforcing this law. In one case in Pennsylvania, a woman was in a nursing home and her Medicaid was pending, but she left the nursing home facility and left the country and returned to Greece. Well, either the facility didn't want to wait for her Medicaid approval process, or maybe the woman didn't qualify because she no longer lived in the States. I'm not really sure about that. But in any case, they found a son who did have the ability to pay, and they sued him. And even after appeals, he was required to pay $93,000 out of his pocket for the care of his mother. Now, the thing that scares me the most, though, is the 26 states that have the Filial law on the books, and even though they haven't enforced it, they could do that at any time. Because think about it, Medicaid pays over $100 billion a year, on long-term care nursing. What if there were budget cuts and the states needed to save money and decided to make it more difficult to qualify for long-term care Medicaid? They could start enforcing the Filial law, and nursing homes could turn around and bill you or me for care that's not covered for our parents. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but for now, here's what you can do to protect yourself and your parent just in case. If your parent is not yet in need of long-term care, consider talking to an elder care attorney about setting up a trust for your parent, which might help them qualify for Medicaid if needed in the future. Go ahead and look into long-term care insurance policies. Of course, the younger your parent is, the more affordable that those will be. Make sure that if your parent qualifies for Medicaid, that you help them apply for it. If your parent is already on Medicaid, make sure that their annual redetermination paperwork is completed correctly and on time. Make sure that you or someone has access to the bank and other financial information that might be required for the application and redetermination process so that there's no delay, because this could cause a gap in the coverage. So this means consider the need for getting a power of attorney for finances. Oh, and I just thought that if the law is going to require you to prove if you can pay, if that ever does come up, then it's worth talking to an attorney to see if a trust account for yourself might be a good idea. So to review, if your parent doesn't live in one of the states that has an active Filial law in the books, then you're probably pretty safe. Just protect yourself, and I would recommend not signing any promise to pay notes at a long-term care facility. If care was received in South Dakota, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, or Puerto Rico, then you're at higher risk for being billed for care of your parents. So make sure that the Medi-Cal applications are in place and kept up to date, and consider finding out if a trust account would be helpful for yourself. And in the 26 other states where the law is on the book but they're not currently being enforced, then it's time to prepare yourself. Prepare for a time when these could be enforced at some point in the future by applying for Medicaid and talking to an elder law specialist about the possibility of setting up a trust for both your parent and yourself for everyone's protection. Leave me a comment and let me know if you've ever heard of these filial responsibility laws or if you've had any experience with it. Here's a couple more videos that I think might be helpful for you in the ongoing care of the senior in your life. If you found today's video informative, then please go ahead and hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any videos on everything senior. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.